Ronaldo has dominated the headlines this week after saying he felt betrayed by the club. Now, one part of that interview also saw Ronaldo criticise his former teammate Neville after he'd recently questioned his behaviour. Now, Neville has given this response.
I think he's obviously, over a period of many months, stored up, had a pent-up frustration. Obviously, he's not done any interview at all this season for any broadcaster, whether it be Sky Sports or BT Sport. Obviously, United are nearly on every single week. And I suspect he's been asked to do an interview after every game, every single week, and he's chosen not to speak. And obviously through that, he's felt as though he's needed to come out and say his piece and obviously get off his chest what's been bugging him.
Do you think he's misjudged this situation, though? Because did he probably go into it thinking that the United fans will be onside?
I don't know what he thought in respect of what the United fans would think. And to be fair, I think that I would never criticise a football player. I've called for many years for football players to be open, to be independent thinking, and to come out and speak their minds, and not to be sort of micromanaged from within an inch of their lives by PR teams. And I can't think that's happened here. I can't think that any PR advisor would have told him to go and do what he's done. I think that he would have done this off his own back with his own strength of character and personality. I think there was probably a different way to do it, but I think that's maybe from the club side and from Cristiano's side. You know, when I had that debate in the studio after the Chelsea game 3 or 4 weeks ago with Roy Keane and with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Dave Jones, I urged Manchester United and Cristiano to come together that week because it was obvious that the actual relationship was failing or had failed, and that navigate a pathway to January or to the World Cup whereby they had basically created a truce. You know, exits don't have to happen this way if both sides are proactive and mature. So I think I'm disappointed that that meeting doesn't seem to have happened. Cristiano hasn't been controlled or managed. It doesn't look like Cristiano, to be fair, on his side of things, has also reached out to the club and open communication lines. So I'd say on that side of things that, you know, it's ended up in this what would be quite unsavoury situation whereby it looks like Cristiano's going to end this period of his reign at Manchester United in not as great a I suppose, feeling as it should be, which, you know, he's one of the greatest players ever to play the game in the world, and he's certainly one of Manchester United's greatest ever players. So it's obviously sometimes difficult. You know, I remember when players left Manchester United when I was there, and it didn't always end in the right way. And it never felt right whilst I was at the club, and it still doesn't feel right now as a sort of Manchester United fan. Somebody that I played with needs to leave the club in this way, or that the club need to end it in this way.
There's that phrase, nothing surprises you in football, but is there any way back for him at United?
No, and I don't think he wants a way back. I mean, he wouldn't have done this interview if he wanted a way back. I think this interview, to be fair, was one that he knew would bring about the headlines that it has and would bring his end of his Manchester United career. Now, from a club point of view, I think that the interesting thing is now Cristiano has obviously said what he said. He's come out and basically criticised whether it be the young players at the club, whether it be Erik ten Hag, the owners, the board. So if you do that in any business, you know, if you criticise your line manager, if you criticise your owners, your board, your executive, then there's obviously no employment going to be there for you in the future. So I'm, to be fair, at this moment in time, wondering what Manchester United are doing, because the reality of it is they know they have to terminate Cristiano's contract, or else they basically open up a precedent so that any player can come and criticise them in the future. So, you know, I agree with some of the things that Cristiano has said. And many Manchester United fans will agree with many of the things that Cristiano has said. But the reality of it is, if you're an employee within a business and you say those things, then your employment has to terminate. And Manchester United, you have no doubt, have to do that in the next few days. And Cristiano probably wants that as well. But it didn't need to end like that. They could have come together a few weeks ago and navigated a smooth pathway through what potentially could have been choppy seas to the shore. But it's not happened. They've both basically gone, it looks like, backed themselves into a corner.
He feels that you're personally against him. He claims you've spoken about him in order to get attention for yourself. What did you make of that, and what are your feelings towards him now?
It's not true what he said, but the reality of it is, I think that all's fair in love and war. You know, I know that I live in the game of criticism and that I have to accept it back, and I get plenty of it back. I love all my teammates that I played with, including Cristiano. And to be fair, the disappointment I have in the last few weeks, few months, is that he dropped below a standard that I know he has, and I know that he's set previously in his behaviour. And he'll realise that one day in 10, 15 years, as I have at many times during my life. You know it's a little bit wrong at the time. I suspect he's a little bit uncomfortable at this moment in time in terms of the fallout of what's happened, because deep down he's a sensitive, good human being. And he's just, at the end of the day, not handling probably the latter part of his career as easily as he could do, or as well as he could do, because he's got that mentality that I can't describe, that people have of his ilk, that just is it's a monster mentality that basically means they cannot accept things going against them or obstacles being put in the way. And they do think everybody's against them. But the reality of it is, it isn't like that. I'm not against Cristiano Ronaldo. In fact, far from it. I couldn't have any more admiration for him. I couldn't have any more respect for him, of what he's done. He's the greatest football player that I've ever seen. And to be fair, he's the most talented football player that I ever played with at Manchester United.